In my early 20s, I contracted hepatitis B. My father was a doctor, and he saw readings on liver enzymes that weren't normal. But the medical community back then didn't know about what hepatitis C was. They just knew it was something different than the ones that they did know. Basically went through nearly 30 years of life without knowing. Finally, in early 90s, they came out with a test where they could identify hepatitis C. And I went to a doctor that worked in his office, and he ran the test, and he diagnosed me as genotype 1 hepatitis C. And immediately went into a liver biopsy, and that confirmed that I had cirrhosis, fibrosis, and my liver was diseased. The liver is an important organ, as all organs are important for human life, but I mean, it cleans out all the trash, and without it, you're in trouble. Some people are affected different. This was my story. I still did everything I wanted to do. Didn't have any problems, and at 55 years old is when it came to an end. I had hypertension, portal vein hypertension, and that caused a high blood pressure in the varices, esophagus varices. They erupted, and I nearly bled to death. I went to St. Francis Hospital and had multiple bandings done to my esophagus, and that cleared that fixed that. But it was the beginning of the end, and during that time I developed a lot of ascites, began to put on a lot of weight, and of course your waist size keeps going up. So by the time it was over with, I was at a size 38 and started at a size 34. So I went to the hospital. They put a needle in your stomach, and they pulled the ascites off of you, and they pulled 17 pounds. And when I got up off the table, my pants fell to the floor. That was good, a little embarrassing, but it was good. And unfortunately, though, that's not the end of it, because the ascites will come back. If you can't arrest the disease in some way, and with hepatitis C, the only treatment that they had available, which I tried 4 times, interferon along with ribavirin. The first time there wasn't ribavirin, and it went away at first, but it always came back. In the 3 years from 55 after that esophagus bleed, I had to get on medicines because my liver was starting to fail in terms of clearing ammonia out of my system, which affects your thinking. I got a new doctor along the way. Her name was Dr. Fleckenstein, and she put me on the right medicines, and for a while it made me healthier. I got back in the saddle a little bit. In May of 2011, they came out with a Incivic medicine called Telaprevir, and it was a protease inhibitor that targeted the mutation capability of hepatitis C so it couldn't mutate, so your immune system could track it and kill it. That was what was so difficult about it, is it changed form. When your immune system would identify it, it would change form and not be able to eradicate the disease. So the protease inhibitor, along with the interferon and ribavirin, was a 48-week treatment. I made it 40 weeks, keeping in mind that I was 36 years into the disease when I started it, and I guess nobody really knew how bad my liver was. Well, it killed the hepatitis C, and had the transplant on December the 9th. I was walking 3 days after the transplant. The nurses, ICU nurses, and all the team professionals that did their job with me, you couldn't ask for better capabilities. They really work long shifts, and it's exhausting. Everybody should appreciate what they do. Right now, as far as I know, I'm hepatitis C free, which is good, because if you get a transplant, the hepatitis C you have just immediately begins to attack the new liver. So it was good for me. I got a clear liver, and I'm clear of the disease, so I have a true hope. And not everybody is that lucky, so I definitely feel lucky about it. Here I am. I'm feeling better and hoping to see some new life.
We adopted Cameron, and we got him when his mother got into some trouble, and the Department of Human Services had to take him. My wife Margie, she was involved in child care, and she had taken care of Cameron before. So with her having history of him, Department of Human Service, they asked her what she considered keeping him. So then she consulted me, and I told her, no, I don't want to do that. We raised our kids. Our kids are grown and out of the house. So her and my daughter got together. So they were going to do it anyway.
I got involved because one afternoon my mom called me and she was hysterical. She was crying and I'm going, what's wrong, what's wrong? And then she proceeded to tell me about Cameron. And I had met Cameron a couple of times because after work I would stop by their home before going to my home. And I met Cameron a couple of times, and I don't know, it was just something about him that tugged in my heart. And I just kind of would just hold him, sit there and hold him for a while. And you know, he was a very sick child at the time. And so I vowed to her, I said, you know, listen, if you decide to do this, if you do this, I will help you. I will help you. This is not just lip service. I will help you.
So that's how we became a family. When they took Cameron from his mother, he went into the hospital. He was in the hospital about 6 months.
But he never really complained. He was such a good child, and he just seemed so loving.
Cameron had a deformed liver. It didn't take the waste out, anything. So Cameron, he developed all kind of big bumps on his face because the waste was trying to get out any kind of way that it could. And with it, it was, he just itched just terribly. I mean, it was, bumps was all over his body, everywhere. His face was deformed. And they were trying to put things through medication, give him what his liver should have been doing. It's just amazing what that organ does and how much, you know, it does for your body.
And the night they got the call for the liver, of course they called me, and he's just living proof that the rest is pretty much history.
In the fall of 2009, I was having a regular physical, and some of the lab results showed an elevated enzyme level in my liver, and my doctor suggested that we do a follow-up study and check for hepatitis C, which we did, and we found the antibodies and did a further study and concluded that I did in fact have hepatitis C. I started to learn everything I could about this disease, this virus. I originally thought, oh, I've had shots for every kind of hepatitis. I don't know how I could have this. I traveled quite a bit, and I had a lot of vaccinations, and I started to learn about it. And you know, the more I learned, the freakier it became. I didn't realize how serious it was. And I had the genotype 1A, which is one of the more difficult strains to treat. And I did okay the first treatment, but not good enough to keep going with it. So after 12 weeks, we stopped that, which was the normal treatment, interferon and ribavirin. And I began to go to the meetings that the Liver Foundation sponsored, and to learn a lot more about what was going on there, to find emotional support and factual support, and hearing other people's stories about what to expect, and you know, different things that other people had been through with this virus. And then in 2011, we did I became involved in a clinical trial that Dr. Levinson was sponsoring, facilitating, and that was with Gilead.
And after the 4th week, I was undetectable and remained undetectable throughout the treatment for 6 months. And then after 6 months, we stopped the treatment. And that's been, well, it's been about 11 months now since I've been undetectable. And I had my follow-up checkup yesterday, as a matter of fact, for the 6-month test, and hopefully I'm still undetectable. I feel like I am, but you never know. You know, it's a tricky virus, and all indications are that it's gone for good, thanks to the Liver Foundation and all the other support, and Dr. Levinson and the marvels of modern medicine and a lot of spiritual help. See, I really didn't know much of anything about liver disease, but I began to learn quite a bit pretty quickly, and yeah, it was one of those things where you want to know more to help yourself, to be your own best advocate in treating it. But there are times when you learn things that you read things and you go, oh, I wish I hadn't read that. That's too scary. It's not exactly what I wanted to read about today. It's a little freaky, and that was another reason that being involved with other people who have been through this was helpful too, to learn more about it.
Well, I knew next to nothing about liver disease, and then I started doing internet searches and learning more and more about his disease, and I pretty much at that point discovered how very serious it was and how much the body depended on the liver. Because I'd always heard that, if you had a bad liver, it always repaired itself. So I never thought of it as being so crucial as to enabling the body to function.
What I knew about liver disease was nothing. All I knew is I had one. I didn't really know what it did. And once I found out that I was infected with hepatitis C, I started doing a lot of research on my own on the internet. That can be dangerous, but if you have good doctors like I did, you can learn a lot about it.
You should learn as much about the workings of your body, especially those major organs, so that you can be able to detect when something is going wrong with yourself. In Cameron's case, he was too little to know. And when things start occurring, that you go and get a checkup. Go and find out what's going on with yourself.
You should at least be tested every year. Take a blood test, just your yearly physical checkup, and take a blood test and be tested to see if you've got it.
If I hadn't had the physical that showed higher enzyme levels, I wouldn't have known that I had it. There was no other symptoms.
So there's a lot of people out there that have it that don't know, because it takes years for it to finally start showing itself.
I think personally the most important thing people need to know about the disease is to be gentle with what you say to people about it, and not to be negative about it. Try to be positive and look at the brighter side of the new forms of treatment that are coming out, and things that are a more holistic approach to being healthy and living your life in a healthy way with diet and exercise, and not focus and spread information that might freak out. people with hepatitis are pretty freaked out, I think. I know I was about, learning some of the things that weren't exactly good news, and I think doctors and professionals and other people who have been through it need to be gentle about what communication they give to other people who are in the virus now.
American Liver Foundation needs to be supported. It's important to fund them so they can do research to try and clear all of the causes for hepatitis C. And it's very important. I mean, it saves people's lives, saved mine.
From my own experience, because it provided such a great resource for learning more about how to live with hepatitis and how to treat it and the different options that are available that we might not know about if there wasn't a group that the Liver Foundation was sponsoring to help people learn these things. And also, it was important for my wife, and I think for a lot of other family members, to have a place to go so they can learn how to live with the person that they're living with who's going through this experience, and they need that support as well.
Anything that you could give to help, and the research and all of that stuff, that maybe one day, that we can find cures for all of these types of things and can prevent them from happening.
Hi, I'm Jerry Whitaker with the American Liver Foundation Mid-South Division. I hope you enjoyed our second annual Faces of Liver Disease video. There are over 100 different types of liver disease that affect over 30 million Americans. This video introduced us to a few in our community that are or have been affected. The funds we raise here tonight will help us promote education, support, and research in our community. There's so much work to be done and so many people that need our help. Your continued support is always appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you all again at Flavors of Memphis 2014. See you then.